It's a historic moment when an English football fan admits America does something better in the sport they invented. But that's exactly what happened this week when an England supporter visited AT&T Stadium in Texas for a World Cup match and walked out saying, quote, "We owe apologies to America because their football stadiums are so much better than ours." Let that sink in for a second. England, the birthplace of modern football, the country with the Premier League, supposedly the best league in the world, the nation whose fans have spent decades mocking American soccer culture, our terminology, our lack of history. Those fans are now standing inside our stadiums with their mouths on the floor, admitting we got this one right. And here's the thing, they're absolutely correct. This isn't even close. The numbers don't lie, and when you stack up the infrastructure, America's stadium game is in a completely different stratosphere. Let's start with the obvious. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, where this revelation occurred, holds 110,000 people when configured for major events. Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor, 107,000. Beaver Stadium at Penn State, 106,000. These are college football venues that dwarf anything England has to offer. Now compare that to Wembley Stadium, England's national stadium, and their pride and joy. It holds 90,000. That's impressive by English standards. It's actually their largest stadium. But it wouldn't even crack the top 10 in America when you factor in our college football cathedrals. And it gets worse for England when you look at their club stadiums. The average Premier League stadium capacity is just 41,320. Let me repeat that. 41,000. That's the average. Old Trafford, Manchester United's legendary Theatre of Dreams, 74,000. Anfield, Liverpool's fortress, 61,000. Stamford Bridge, under 41,000. The Emirates, 60,000. These are clubs worth billions of dollars, generating hundreds of millions in revenue every year, and they're playing in venues that would be considered mid-sized by American standards. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, which hosts two NFL teams and doesn't even have the prestige of being anyone's beloved historic home, holds 82,500. But capacity is just one piece of this. Let's talk about the actual experience. American stadiums are built for scale and spectacle. We're talking massive video boards that are larger than some English stadiums' entire stands. We're talking concourses with restaurants, clubs, and viewing areas. Climate control, retractable roofs. These aren't just sporting venues. They're entertainment complexes. AT&T Stadium has a center-hung video board that's 160 feet wide. The entire structure weighs 1.2 million pounds and cost $40 million by itself. When you walk into that building, you immediately understand you're in something built for a different level of experience. English stadiums, by contrast, are often constrained by their history and geography. They're built in tight urban neighborhoods that were established centuries ago. There's literally no room to expand. Anfield is surrounded by residential streets. Stamford Bridge is hemmed in by London real estate. These clubs are trying to modernize facilities and footprints designed in the 1800s. And that's not entirely their fault. American stadiums have the advantage of space. We built most of our major venues in the suburbs or on the outskirts of cities where land was available and affordable. We could go big because we had room to go big, but that doesn't change the reality. When international fans show up for this World Cup, they're experiencing a scale of sports infrastructure that simply doesn't exist in most of the world. This English fan's admission matters because it represents a crack in a facade that's been maintained for decades. English football has long positioned itself as the gold standard. The Premier League markets itself as the best league on the planet. English fans have been notoriously dismissive of American soccer, treating MLS as a retirement league and mocking everything from our chants to our supporter culture. But infrastructure, that's something you can't spin. You can argue about the quality of play, the history, the atmosphere. You can't argue with 110,000 seats and a video board the size of a basketball court. And this is happening during a World Cup that America is co-hosting. The world's biggest sporting event is being played in American venues, and visiting fans from football-obsessed nations are realizing that maybe, just maybe, the Americans figured some things out when it comes to hosting massive sporting events. The timing couldn't be better for American soccer's credibility. For years, the narrative has been that we don't really understand the sport, that we're newcomers trying to buy our way into relevance. But when you can host World Cup matches in venues that make Wembley look quaint, that narrative starts to shift. This also sets up something fascinating for September when the NFL international games ramp up. If English fans are impressed by our soccer infrastructure during the World Cup, wait until they see what we've built specifically for the sport we actually care about most. The NFL has been expanding its London presence for years, playing regular season games at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and Wembley. Those venues are great by English standards, but they're about to host American fans who are used to a very different standard of game day experience. The cultural exchange is going to be fascinating. American fans heading to London for NFL games will experience the charm and history of English football venues, the proximity to the pitch, the neighborhood pubs, the tradition. But they'll also notice the smaller concourses, the lack of amenities, the difference in scale. Meanwhile, English fans are learning that America's approach to sports infrastructure, go big, go modern, prioritize spectacle, creates an experience that's genuinely impressive even if you're coming from a country that invented the sport. This moment also highlights something important about American sports culture that often gets overlooked. We treat sports as mass entertainment events. That's why we build stadiums that hold over 100,000 people. That's why we invest in massive screens and premium amenities. It's not just about the game, it's about the experience of attending the game. English football, by contrast, has traditionally been more about the club, the community, the local identity. Those are beautiful aspects of the sport that American soccer culture is still developing. But when it comes to sheer scale and infrastructure, America's approach produces facilities that are genuinely world class. So what happens next? This World Cup is going to generate thousands of these moments. International fans experiencing American sports venues for the first time and reassessing their assumptions about American soccer. Those experiences will filter back to their home countries through social media, through conversations, through articles and videos. The perception of American soccer infrastructure is changing in real time. And it's not because of marketing or spin, it's because people are walking into AT&T Stadium, Michigan Stadium, MetLife Stadium, and experiencing something that genuinely impresses them. For this English fan to publicly admit that America does stadiums better than England, that's not just a personal opinion. That's a symptom of a larger shift in how the world is viewing American soccer. We might not have the history, we might not have the centuries of football culture, but we built the venues, and those venues are making an impression. The infrastructure is there, the scale is there, and now, finally, international fans are starting to admit it. We'll see how many more apologies we get before this World Cup is over.